Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Well, welcome to day 3, Ignite. Today we'll discuss excellence in financial services with Agentic AI. And we'll do that in 2 parts. Part number 1, we'll talk about a report that we have produced recently, and I'll introduce the report. And then I'll have 4 amazing guests in panel with me on stage. I'm Ravi Khokhar. I'm part of Capgemini Financial Services. I lead our cloud business worldwide. Very happy to be here. The first part of the agenda is about a report we published recently, which is called the World Cloud Report in Financial Services. This report highlights and captures insights from 1,100 stakeholders across the globe in financial services, where we went and spoke to them about what has been their journey during Agentic AI adoption, what business value have they really created, how they have reimagined business processes. So the graphic you see on the screen is essentially turning a rock into a crystal, and that's our analogy for how do you create value when you start reimagining critical business processes using Agentic AI. This is a public document. It is released last week, so it's very fresh. That's why we chose to bring it to you in Ignite. There's a QR code on the screen. You are able to download that. We also worked with 40 different stakeholders as part of creating this report, covered 14 different markets across the globe, and that brings out the depth, coverage, and the richness of this report. There are 3 themes we uncovered in this report as we were creating it, where it summarizes how the report finds out the adoption of Agentic AI across financial services. The first theme we found is the changing role of cloud, which we call how is cloud adapting to Agentic AI. And it remains to be seen who's driving whom. But reality today is that the role of cloud has become an innovation enabler. And those of you who are practicing Agentic AI, and this is the perfect platform to demonstrate that point, Microsoft itself is creating significant innovation with Agentic AI, and Azure becomes the bedrock for producing that value. Second theme we found where customers told us how are they forging business value with cloud and Agentic AI, and how are agents powering this journey. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. And the third theme is this whole journey itself and how it gets orchestrated, how it becomes AI-centric, and how it creates value, and what's the path forward 12, 24, 36 months from now. Those are the 3 themes we found in the report. I encourage you to download it, but I'll spend a few minutes on each theme one by one. When we started AI a couple of years ago, and Gen AI, and now Agentic AI, we clearly saw a shift from limited automation to deterministic automation to non-deterministic automation. We also saw the role of cloud changing from a PaaS provider to a data aggregator, an orchestrator, and now to an innovation enabler. And you will be experiencing themes. What we present to you on the screen today are areas where our customers are using cloud and Agentic AI to create different value. It ranges from some people doing this for creating specific utility platforms, some customers using it for multi-agent collaboration, some using for generating different kind of insights and top-line growth with AI. The second theme is most interesting, where we asked everyone across banking and insurance, what use cases are you really driving across retail banking, wealth management, capital markets, and payments, and for insurance, property and casualty, life, and health. And what came out was very interesting. If you see on the screen, some of the business processes that are really getting reimagined with AI range from how underwriting is being done differently, how loans are being processed differently, how is risk being analyzed differently, to all the way from how are claims being processed with more straight-through enabled at the end of it, and at the end, what role data and analytics is playing in this journey. So this is how we say our clients are creating and forging business value with cloud and Agentic AI. Now, to take this a notch lower, we also asked our customers, and I'll cover this for banks first, and then I'll come to insurance. what use cases and business processes are already in production for them, what is on the kitchen stove being cooked, and what is almost on the whiteboard being discussed. Pretty interesting things came out. And this is all major banks, all major capital market institutions that we surveyed. What we found is processes around CRM integration across the sales function, as well as enabling product FAQs and credit underwriting are areas which are already in production for many, many customers using Agentic AI. And when you read the report, you will get specifics about which institutions have made more progress than less progress and so on and so forth. KYC remains an area of a lot of interest. It's on the borderline. We personally have seen two banks, very large ones, 100+ years in existence, do a lot of leap on Agentic using Agentic in KYC process, FCC, which is fraud, and sanctions, and so on and so forth. Then there are areas around real-time fraud flagging. There are areas around complex loan restructuring. Those are areas which are somewhere between initial idea, product backlog, or somewhere in the development cycle, maybe 8, 12, 18 months away from production go live. So this gives you a perspective of how Agentic AI in banking and capital markets is being used to create differentiated business value. This is not Capgemini's input. This is a market research, and the report will tell you where, how, and from which institutions. Obviously, we had to anonymize in many cases where customers are not comfortable disclosing their name. Some of them happen to be in the audience today. When it comes to insurance, a similar pattern emerged, but you will see more use cases and business processes already in production. And what surprises us is P&C is leading the pack. Health is the second, life is the third, and that's just the nature of life business. CRM integration is number one, policy underwriting, quotation, binding, ratings are number two, and policy FAQs are number three. In all these three use cases, we have seen customers talk about how do we go from an X% quote to bind ratio during an underwriting process to making it 3 times better, 4 times better, and increasing the book in the process. 3 times increase in underwriting throughput is a very big thing for a carrier. Max, we have seen 20%, 30% uptick. But when you start reimagining the entire underwriting process, we have a very differentiated set of results. We were privileged to be part of a couple of such journeys. Policy is the second, claims is the third, and there are a few use cases around cross-border compliance, complex claims, especially in large, complex commercial carriers landscapes that are still a little bit behind on the reimagination process. So my intent with this exercise was to give you a preview of how is Agentic AI making a difference and creating different business value by giving you an outside-in report. We will put the QR code on display in case you want to further take a look at it and download. The URL is worldcloudreport.com. That said, instead of only giving you information about what we are seeing in the market, I requested 4 senior guests to join us. They're coming in from 3 different countries. Please give a round of applause as I welcome Rob, Yuka, Phani, and Liz on the stage.
Someone took a short?
Yeah, that's a shortcut.
What do you want to see? Ravi in the middle?
I'm good anywhere.
I'll sit over here.
Yeah.
All right. To introduce, Rob is traveling from Australia. He's part of Bank of Queensland. He's the Chief Technology Officer. We have known him for quite a while now. And it's not a short ride. It takes almost a day to get here.
Pleasure to be here.
Yuka, coming from Finland. He's from OP Bank. OP is a Finnish institute, very special, and we'll talk about that. It serves a particular community as such. Phani, coming from US. He is the Vice President for Navy Federal Credit Union, the largest credit union in the US, Phani, thank you for being here.
In the world.
In the world now, yes. I beg your pardon. Liz heads the cloud development technology for Prudential, based in Newark. Liz, thanks for being here. Very diverse group, different experiences. They are all in different stages of using agentic AI and agentic AI adoption in their institutions. So I'll start with one common question to all of you, and then we'll get very specific to the organizations you are representing. How are you innovating with agentic AI? It'll be funny, we'll start with you.
So let me just give some context. So for everybody in the audience, we refer our customers as members. So whenever I say member, it means our customers, just because that's how the credit unions are organized. So from our perspective, our commitment to serving our members starts with service. And that's what we've known forever. And we are one of the top institutions today that has the best rating around member service and also most trusted bank in the USA. So everything focuses around member service, and we're leveraging many factors in how we achieve that. So we've taken a holistic approach of combining our product offerings with the experiences that our members go through and trying to bring that through a philosophy, what I call as machine first, but path to humans. So we're trying to create those experiences, and at every point or any point, a member needs personal interactions with our team member. We're trying to create those loops where they can access and continue their journeys of, like you said, the World Report said, onboarding seems to be our primary focus areas that we're focused on now with mortgages and car loans and member onboarding and things like that. So that's one aspect we're doing. And at the same time, we are about 25,000 plus employees within the company. So from an employee perspective, we want to provide these tools and technologies, particularly from Microsoft, to every one of them on their desktops, on their day-to-day operations, so they can bring efficiencies and developer productivity. For me, that is table stakes. I mean, that's where it starts. And that's how we're trying to expand and train all our employees to leverage what's out there and bring those efficiencies. We can get to more details and specifics on where we've achieved and where there is still some learnings on our part that we need to go through.
Got it. It's fascinating, the community you serve. I'll follow through with a specific question on that community. Rob?
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Thanks everyone for being here. Day 4, the back end of day 4. So a double thank you for being here and walking right to the end of the corridor. So we're a 150-year-old bank, about 50-50 split business and retail customers. For us, we started this journey about 2.5, sort of 3 years ago, starting with the personal productivity tools, the 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀 Copilot. Managed to get about probably 1 to 2 hours a week for the people who we gave that capability to. So we did basically we started off with a quarter of the company, the ones who we thought would get the most value. And we've increased that now to the people who we think can get more value. So we're now from sort of 1 to 2 hours, we're around about 45 minutes to an hour per person per day. So we measure that not so much by add it all up and sort of take that off for our bottom line, but we're simply just not, we're not re-employing people. So if someone leaves, then with our personal productivity, a team of 6 is now probably a team of 3 and is probably more productive than they were when they were a team of 6. The second sort of piece is really around end-to-end processes. So that's where we use Agentic, Copilot, Azure AI, Studio. There we're getting quite impressive type. So in both customer experience, operations, fraud, risk. So for us, we're looking at fundamentally changing the way in which we interact with our customers. So I've been talking as a CTO for the last 15, 20 years ad nauseum on how the goal of being able to engage our customers at a one-on-one and a personalized, hyper-personalized way. So that is finally actually happening. We now have the ability to interact with our customers as an individual. And then we're able to, whatever business we actually then get back from those customers, we're able to do that a lot more efficiently because we've got a whole bunch of agents working in the back end on operations, making that fundamental change. So what AI for us is a massive leveling field. We're not going to, we don't want to be the biggest bank, but we certainly want to be the bank that can provide a fairly unique service and have long-term relationships with those customers. So it's massively exciting for us. Our board's decided it's one of our top three strategic initiatives, and we've made a bunch of announcements about that recently.
Super.
Sure.
I'll follow through with one specific question on, you talked about board made the top 3 priority. Liz?
Yeah, excuse me. I think I'll answer that in both the internal employee side and then the internal development side, because to me those are 2 sort of gigantic spaces, but you treat them differently. And you touched a little bit on it and talking about things like Copilot. And I think this trend started a little bit further back when you look at sort of citizen developer and when people were trying to get automation in the hands of all the end users. And I think it never really, it came out in some pockets, certain groups picked it up better than others, but there was never really like a significant runway that took off in that space. And I think what's happened now in the democratization of AI and bringing making the tools, one, cheaper, the models cheaper, but also just the way that it hit all of our everyday lives, is that became commonplace and access to those tools became easier, and the expectation of how you were going to use those and apply them to your job became easier. And so people who don't work in technology are now doing technology functions through things that are calling agents in the background. And that's just not something I think we pictured a year or 2 ago. And then if you transition over to the development space, obviously you have a community that's much more conditioned to this atmosphere, but you have still a significant amount of change. You have GitHub Copilot, Cloud Code, all of these huge providers that are bringing in a deep volume of models. And that, you're looking at potential 15%, 20%, whatever your number is, statistic at your company, of internal productivity. And people are looking at how does that change your hiring strategies, as you said, because maybe you want to have a talent pipeline, but you might be repositioning your talent structure for what is the right makeup of your team. And so I just think, we're, just as everyone else has said, we're experimenting with these things, but I think those 2 pools are just really, really fascinating to look at a little bit differently.
Super. Yuka?
Yeah, I think like everyone here, we see tremendous transformational potential in leveraging generative AI and agentic AI in the future, especially in our business. And we have this ambitious mission of becoming an AI-first company. And of course, we need to understand that that is a long-term transformation, so it's not going to happen overnight. And it's going to sort of change our organization, change our processes, change the role of humans in the organization, if you want to think about it that way as well. But I think that even though it's a longer term process, this transformation, we have started or have had a good start to that transformation. So we've organized during this year a bit more around our strategic focus areas on leveraging AI. We have started fostering our champion network that enables the utilization of AI in different functions throughout our organization. And we've started forming that vision of what we will become. So looking at the big picture, what does agentic future look like for us, and how we will transform our processes doing AI native processes. And we've launched new agents this year. We had good success with our customer service agents, improving our customer service personnel efficiency, enabling them access to more expertise beyond their own specialization, which has enabled them to resolve customer queries or better resolve them, and then in addition enabled easier onboarding for new personnel. And looking beyond that, leveraging more AI, agentic AI in customer service channels, like Rob mentioned, hyper-personalization is a big thing for us, 24/7 service, and leveraging AI in proactive services as well as part of our business processes. And talking about that process transformation, one big thing for us, of course, is the mortgage business, and we're looking to, right now we're working on a vision for an AI native mortgage process. How does that look like? But at the same time, we're working on specific agentic AI solutions for that process. So starting to deliver value early, learning from those early deployments, and then working towards a bigger vision of having a truly native process.
Cool. I'll stick with you because the OP Institute is, in a very interesting co-op structure. You're regulated by Finnish regulatory authorities. Governance, compliance is a very, very big thing in your country and largely in Europe, at least bigger than North America in relative sense. So how does a banking institute which has co-op structure, heavily regulated, is able to advance and put AI first strategy? You don't get obstacles, you don't get challenged by regulators.
Looking at regulation and compliance, there's 3 points I want to make. So first, yes, regulation does challenge our ability to innovate. There is a lot of regulation in EU we have to follow and be compliant with, and that is important for our brand as well. Our customers being able to trust that we are compliant with a regulation and that they can trust us with their data. It is of course important for us, and we have to spend a lot of resources in being compliant. There's recently just this week been rumblings about maybe loosening some of the AI regulation in the future. We'll hope that is the case, because it of course enables us to innovate more easily in the future. But yeah, it is something that we need to be mindful of. But second point, I think it is more about the process of how we are compliant. So we need to have robust processes in place that enable our development teams to understand how they can stay compliant and how they can deliver value while being compliant with regulation. So that is an important topic for us, and luckily we already have this robust practices in place that we can work on, and we have a good start for being compliant, like, having those AI review boards, having a compliance process that ensures that we are compliant, and now we're working on making that process more agile so that we can deliver value more easily. And that brings me to my third point, that we need to foster a culture where we are focusing on delivering value throughout the organization. So rather than looking at regulation and risk and compliance management as sort of a hindrance to delivering value, we need to be working together to deliver value. So risk and compliance function supporting our development teams and supporting our business in getting things done, rather than blocking things. So solving those issues together, that is important. So I think it's more about our approach to regulation rather than regulation itself that is hindering our ability to innovate.
I don't hear this very often, where somebody says that risk and compliance is the best friend with the rest of the development teams.
If there are any listening, yes, I'm 100% in agreement.
Liz, in your role, you support Prudential's life and annuity business. You also support the investment management business as well, very contrasting setups. In the life insurance sector, which is both closed block, open block, and it has its unique set of challenges, and you combine annuities with it, how are you able to tackle through these two diverse businesses and still find some value in the process?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said 100 years old. I think banks and insurance companies probably share the similar ecosystem of having a lot of legacy technologies. I think that challenge, just as like table stakes, makes for a really interesting job for all of us. And when you look at, take my role for instance, and any head of cloud, I think you will be in a position where you're looking at what is a migration out of a data center, am I re-platforming, am I refactoring, right? That's the traditional model. To me, that phase is no more. That's not going to stand. Those projects took years. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. And we have a significant amount of legacy technology still sitting in our data centers that I think a lot of us want to get to. And I think that this, if you take, for instance, if we go back to agentic code development, you look at the LLMs that are in the development space, that is where you have a really interesting way of looking at that debt. And this is a leapfrog moment, right? You can either let that debt hold you back from progressing forward, or you can find a way to channel it to leapfrog another company. And I think that this moment's really important in trying to put the AI and put these LLMs on the code bases and potentially even rewrite an entire structure, rewrite an entirely new application instead of just trying to refactor in place. So I think we have to be really creative about these problems. And I see that in the way that we're trying to tackle on the insurance side. And I think companies that share a similar amount of debt in the legacy space have that. I think when you look at asset management, there's a really interesting challenge over, for instance, like resiliency. And I know that's a topic that's sort of really top of mind for everybody when you have an outage in AWS, Cloudflare, and Microsoft all in 3 weeks. I'm going to get thrown out of the building. But this is an area now where if you take a look at your applications, you're looking at gaps in your code base, places where you didn't configure for proper multi-region setup, things like that. And I think that's another area to tap into. And I think when you see that in fixed income, but you see that in asset managers, just due to the sensitivity in the market. So those are just two examples, but I think it's just a really exciting space to work in right now.
Interesting. Resiliency. I'm from India, live in US. Diwali was spent differently, triaging an incident that a hyperscaler caused who will do their kickoff a few weeks from now. DynamoDB configuration failed, half of US East was down. So
yes,
this is real.
It is real.
Rob, I'll come back to you where we parked a thought earlier. You talked about AI being the top 3 priority from the board level. Bank of Queensland announced a significant, very ambitious transformation journey, and we are truly privileged to be part of that, by the way. We take it very, very seriously. But you guys have announced a significant transformation on the ops side. You have announced a transformation on the IT side, and then you have doing a ground-up change in the bank to create a very different outcome. How is that going?
Yeah, we say we're like a 150-year-old startup. We've been transforming hard for the last sort of at least 3 years. I started off with about we run 5 brands, 3 retail brands, 2 business brands. So we now have we started off with about 1,000 applications. I'm just sub 600 now. So our approach is a little bit different. We decided we were going to try and switch everything off. So I have basically 98% of my applications, target applications, are now in the cloud. We're basically just taking our customers and putting them on those 2 stacks. So I've got my business customers going to the business stack, and the retail customers going to the retail stack, and that retail stack supports all 3 brands digitally end-to-end in Azure for both, and we have them across multiple regions so that one goes down, we're still okay.
But no gaps.
We just don't want Vault to go down again. That's what we don't want. So we're doing a massive transformation. That gives us the opportunity to we're digitalizing everything, and part of that digitalization journey is the AI part of it. So we just announced a couple of months ago a big transformation of the operations side of the business. So that's call center, financial crime, collections, business and retail, mortgage operations, and some of the risk departments as well. We didn't want to leave them out. So we've got, that probably represents certainly more than a third of the company. As I said, we've already been on a simplification journey with them. We split out those benefits from us going from sort of 600 back down to 300, which is what we're going to get done in the next year and a half. That is going to take probably, I think, 50% out of the cost of that over 3 years. So that's the target that we set. We have approved. We did a bottom-up business case on that with Capgemini, but also a couple of other third parties. The opportunity that we already see from what we've done already. So we've already done quite a lot of activity. If you're interested in the low-hanging fruit, so low-hanging fruit is call centers. If you haven't done your call center, then you're way behind. I think 30% is a sort of an average sort of return on that. In our digital channel, we started at 27, and every month we're getting another %. So it keeps on ticking up. Again, we actually did that without losing any people. We just had natural attrition. The people who were there just got more and more productive. Our customer sat's gone up, and our average call handling has gone down. So, and we're seeing some very, very attractive benefits for that. So that. I mean, there are plenty of pieces of the organisation which are very ripe for change. As a regulated entity, we're very careful about what we do with our customers. So we don't give them advice yet. We're building up. That's what we call a wave 3 piece of work. But the customer center, customer contact center, is absolutely improving customer experience. We're really helping. The key for us there was just how do we dumb it down so that we're locked. The knowledge is in a locked box. We know exactly what's in the box. If you're asking a question that's not in the box, you're going to go off to an agent, and we keep on just increasing the size of the 100% confidence box that we have, because we've got, I think, 5 knowledge management systems, each of them that run different brands, and then some of them have old product, new product for people who are still in legacy and haven't moved to the digital side. So the level of complexity is high even for our agents. So we just simplified that and said, there's one answer for one customer, and that's working really well. And I think it's a good approach for risk. Start as early as you can, create that capability and that level of confidence. Rubbish in, rubbish out is still as true as it was. That isn't going to change. It probably becomes even more important. So yeah, we're very, very excited to be sort of locked into that transform. We're going hard, and we're very confident that we've got a great partner there. So thanks for Capgemini for all their support. But I think the message is this is real. The benefits are real. We're probably unusual in that we've seen some strong benefits early, and that was because we probably were a fast follow on some of the people. The knowledge we got last year here, we went hard on the areas where people were actually making real money. And really improving customer experience, and so I'd say that's probably good advice.
You have been very intentional about it for sure. We met in last Ignite and discussed a few topics which are behind us now.
Yeah.
I almost feel like he's talking about Navy Federal. Because we run into the same situations. And
just it's not lost on me. You said 30% contact center piece is already done. Cost takeout and efficiencies. Wow. But Phani, I'll come to Navy Federal. You serve a very elite member network, Department of Defense, military, and personalization is top of the mind.
absolutely.
And you do that with a very large customer base. How do you use Agentic AI to create that differentiated experience?
Yeah, so there's a good quote by Robert Vance from one of the oldest banks in America. He said, the only way to grow old is to reinvent and innovate. So we're kind of in the same thought mind at this point. Across the company, we don't have at the board level decisions made around AI, but at the company, our leadership level, we've kind of decided that the only way to grow and keep that member service intact for what we're known for is to reinvent ourselves and invest into AI. And we're taking a very similar approach to what Robert was talking about, looking at the lens of our members, looking at the lens of our employees, and having some sort of a unified experience strategy that drives change across the company. So from a member lens perspective, we're looking at all the members' life events and the moments that matter, and looking at how the current journeys are going to be re-engineered and how we're going to introduce AI to kind of bring that personalization that we all are looking for into them. I'll kind of double click a little bit onto that in just a minute. And at the same time, we're also looking from our employees' perspective to making sure that for years, they have done with old antiquated technologies. So the cognitive load on how they perform the duties is so high. We want to kind of change that nature. We want to bring the technology to the forefront and let them drive those interactions with our members. So we're also heavily investing into those areas for us. Coming back to the unified experience, our thinking at this point is sort of into 3 segments. That includes call centers, modernization of it, and also all the onboarding functions that you talked about and so on. So primarily it's around how our member interactions are going to be looked at and what kind of intents we can develop to making sure that each member interactions is hyper-personal. And we have different segments of members that work with us, so we want to make sure that we are providing those intent-based personalizations to them and build that trust that we're known for years. We're not as old as Queensland. We're 92 years old. We'll still need to catch up, but that's our thinking at this point from a personalization perspective from member-facing side. And from team member and back office, that is where we've done significant progress in the last couple of years. To your world report, we've looked at all the CRM functions at this point, and we have created many of those onboarding, claims processing, fraud functions across our mortgage journeys, car loans, fraud particularly around credit card fraud and things. Automated many of them. That's where our current deployment of agents are, and ensuring that we learn from those experiments and adoptions around back office functions, and then turn them around to be more self-service to our members across all channels that we interact with.
Super.
So that's where we are. And then at the same time, what ties together is kind of consolidation of data, all the interactions, and centralizing them, because we constantly want to look for insights on how we can gain and personalize those products in a continuous way. So that's where we're kind of, we made a lot of progress on the back office functions. We're slowly kind of opening up the doors for member interactions to direct. And call centers is right there at the doorstep for us. That's where my last 2 days I've been talking to Microsoft around call centers.
Very, very encouraging to hear. I'll change gears on a different side of AI adoption in the institutions, which is people and organizations, and organization change management, change culture. Anything any one of you want to highlight as things and words of wisdom to everyone here of things you're doing differently to accelerate that adoption, because there is genuine inertia in the organization. The biggest challenging you have to address is org charts when you adopt agentic AI. How are you addressing some of those challenges? Anyone?
I think we're trying to take away the fear. I mean, there's a lot of natural fear of AGI. I read Nick Bostock's superintelligence book about a decade again. If you read that and you understand what the chances are of it turning out well for us if we actually get to superintelligence, then that is a sobering book, but very much worth reading. I think it's just people are worried about their jobs, 100%. And people are worried about their processes. People fall in love with their processes. People have been doing that job for 3, 5, 10 years. They don't like changing. If this new thing is coming in and it's changing my job, that's an aggressive act. So the way in which we did it with the M365 piece was how do you create little champions within those teams? We had what we call a network learning model, which basically just means making champions, get them together, talk about what was working with all the other teams, and then they go back and explain, well, this team was doing this team was doing that, and the way in which it got its own, effectively sort of its own momentum ground up, because you can't do this top down. Top down is just, you either need a stick or you have people saying you will use AI. Well, it just doesn't work. And actually, for the ones who does, it pushes them out into potentially non-standard AI, and we want people to be embraced and only to use the AI that we have internally. And we proxied out any other AI. So you've got the free Microsoft AI capability within the organisation, but the ones who are driving value, they go through a specific training. They're evaluated they come back and report out on what their benefits are and what they're finding. And that doesn't even mean financial benefits, but customer uplift, whatever it is. And we drive an outcome which is as much as possible. And no, the productivity benefits are taken by attrition and not by a large-scale exit, because we're a relatively, I think we're the sixth largest bank. So we're still a disruptor, and we've got some room to grow. So our ability to grow is far more important than our ability to, or our interest in cutting productivity and getting rid of good people who can be used for us to accelerate our growth. So we're talking as a growth mindset story, and I think that works. And it's really difficult when the cycle goes against you. If a bunch of people are negative, it's very, very hard to turn that around.
Yeah, it's hard. Any other thoughts?
I mean, if you had asked me this 2 days ago, I would have said observability, but Agent 365 is to the rescue. So we had to wait and see and test drive that. But from my perspective, there are a few other areas that I think we have to think through, particularly around agent ownership. Seems like we create some, Microsoft creates some, others create some, but they're all in your ecosystem. So maintainability of those and ownership, especially when they drift, is when we need to think about how to manage that. And then cost. If there are any hidden costs. Microsoft says everything is free. And you have to have a PhD to learn their licensing structure. So,
they're listening, right?
I've told them the top of the chain about this. So I don't know. I don't know what the actual cost might be when we actually implement this whole agentic solutions, where the cost might be driving from a compute perspective and everything else. We don't know. So I'm also learning.
Let's write a licensing agent.
Yeah. So that's what one of my team members said.
I'll do a rapid fire. We have a few minutes remaining. Any specific Microsoft services that comes top of your head in this adoption that has been kind of your hero service or feature functionality that really made the difference in the agentic AI adoption?
I think the services, we joke about free services, but that is why we have E3, E5, right? Like you do it so that you can get a bundle of a bunch of free things.
Yeah.
So I think that strategy works well in large enterprises when you have access to, say, Copilot Chat. And if you purchase and opt into, say, M365 Copilot. And we've seen a lot of announcements, I think, over this week on the Copilot Chat increasing its feature set, which, if you look at what you're doing at home with like ChatGPT and other things, right, you're seeing that parity kind of get a little bit closer and then enriching it more from a work experience standpoint. So I think that's significant, and I think I just keep grounding back from end user into developer. I think in the developer space, you want to have that flexibility over models and the change in models. So I think GitHub positions itself well in that because it is allowing for that interoperability. And obviously this is a space where AI providers are going to continue to leapfrog and make changes. And so I think we all need to be flexible as we're going through our testing and probably getting passionate about certain models that are just ultimately going to change.
And by the way, for the record, Prudential is one of the organizations that we have personally seen do an amazing amount of progress with Fabric and Purview. It's actually, as per Microsoft, one of the only 2 institutions globally that really pushed the adoption to a different level. So congratulations, it was not easy. Yuka, any last thoughts from you?
Last thought in general, I think a lot of this is not about technology per se, but change management, like Rob said. The commitment from the top is important, but having people throughout the organization supporting the change and having them involved in the future, planning the future of processes, planning the future of organizations. How do organizations look like? What are the roles of people in the processes? So that is super important in doing a successful transformation here. And we need to spend a lot of time involving people in that process of our contact center agents, having their KPIs match the expectations of what we are aiming to deliver with AI as well. So it needs to be considered throughout the organization, throughout the different functions.
Got it. Well, it was a truly privilege to have all four of you here. Thank you so much for all the insights, and thank you for listening. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.